Bank of England apparently told Barclays during the crisis, had some concerns about Barclays setting prices too high. It's another issue of bankers behaving badly.
Bankers behaving badly.
And that
I like that. Welcome to NewsBeast. Rob Cox in the house talking about economic recovery. The Daily Beast Manifesto in 2010 got 16 major economists to sign on and many, many more folks adding their name to it. Now we've got a manifesto for economic sense for Europe. What's your take about where things stand with our economic recovery and Europe with new unemployment numbers coming up tomorrow?
I mean, it's really right to talk about growth. I mean, this is one of the big problems. We've got a lot of austerity, but if you have austerity in isolation, you have economic damage. You don't get yourself out of the hole. You dig it deeper. Yeah. So I think it's all very right and good that you guys have done that. And you know, you look at what's happening in Europe. All of the peripheral countries, whether it's Spain or Italy, are basically petitioning Germany and saying, look, we got to have growth. If you don't think about the growth side of the equation, we're not going anywhere. And plus, they politically won't be able to sell it to their people. I mean, it's all cuts.
Austerity has been certainly a political bust, but the question is whether it's an economic bust as well. What's your take?
Look, the Great Depression teaches us that austerity alone doesn't work. I know there are a lot of Austrian economists who right now are gnashing their teeth at that concept, but it's true. But you need to have demand, and if we don't find a way to stimulate demand, it's just all you're going to have is a spiral where things go down. The problem we have, a peculiar problem we have today, is we have sovereign debt crises, which are driving a lot of this. And so that is the bond market's just saying, sorry, I'm not going to lend you any more money. So you can't have growth without some really credible plan to put your country's balance sheet on firm fiscal footing. And that is essentially what Italy is trying to do, Spain has tried to do, Greece has done pretty failingly, and the United States hasn't yet had to tackle.
Remarkable, we've got ADP numbers out today ahead of the overall employment numbers tomorrow for the month of June. Private sector unemployment doing okay. 170 odd thousand jobs added, but the question is whether that's going to get backtracked in the official numbers, especially with public sector, which maybe goes to this prescription.
Right. I mean, public sector employment has been falling. It's been falling for a couple of years now, and that is a lot of that is state-driven, right? So states basically are constitutionally obliged to balance their budgets. They've had to cut back. Municipalities, same thing. We've had a couple of bankruptcies just in the last week. So you're seeing that already happen. It's sort of the counterweight to the private sector employment we've had. At the same time, you also have the problem with housing. Usually, in a in a recovery, you have a much bigger share of housing taking up, adding new jobs. That's not happened. So you've had those two factors have contributed to this problem.
Let's talk about Barclays for a second, because a high-level resignation looks like more to come. A new financial scandal on the other side of the pond. What's your take?
I'm not sure it's just on the other side of the pond. First of all, LIBOR is set by a number of banks. Three of them, J.P. Morgan, B of A, and Citigroup, in the U.S. are also involved in that. I think this thing is going to spread further. We're going to see a lot more of those emails, like the ones that Bob Diamond, lieutenant, sent to his traders, and things like that. I think you're going to see more.
Tell folks what that.
Well, basically there's an argument between essentially Bob Diamond and Barclays and the Bank of England. The Bank of England apparently told Barclays during the crisis, had some concerns about Barclays setting prices too high, which would be a sign of perhaps distrust by Barclays. So as a result of a conversation that took place between Bob Diamond, who was the CEO at Barclays Investment Bank at the time, and I think Paul Turner, who was at the Bank of England, after that conversation, he said to Jerry Delmessier, who was his number two, hey, the Bank of England wants us to bring the rates down. So then Delmessier then gave that order to his people. And so there's a sort of argument here about whether the Bank of England was actually asking them, pressuring them in some way to manipulate the rates.
Right.
Now that Paul Turner has said that he's going to appeal and speak to to legislators, I think, sometime in the next week or two. He's asked to basically set the record straight. But so that's a spat, an internal spat. Raises big questions because he's supposed to be the next guy to run the Bank of England after Mervyn King. But it's another issue of bankers behaving badly.
Bankers behaving badly,
and that is when it hits here. If we see B of A or J.P. Morgan or Citigroup involved in this, it's just going to be more of the same.
Well, it's a reminder of why the old phrase, "It's the economy, stupid," really does matter, especially in the political year. Thanks for coming in, Rob. It's all for us for NewsBeast. We'll see you tomorrow.